Alrighty, so now let's go ahead and talk about the Pech edgeguard tree. So I'll go ahead and explain the edgeguard tree, and then I will kind of show it in practice a little bit here. Technically, there's more things that you can do at the end of the edgeguard tree, but I will always just say double jump fair. For like simplicity purposes, it's just I feel that's the easiest option to actually execute. Double the nair and bear can be a little bit inconsistent, and technically you can air dodge onto stage and up smash, but that one is the most inconsistent. You can get the strong hit of up smash, but that one's the most inconsistent and the hardest to execute. Granted, if you feel like you're going to fail, you could always just panic down smash instead. However, I just think fairing them off of the stage is usually going to be your best bet because it can, at very worst, just reset for the same edge guard. But at very best, it kills them. So the edge guard goes as follows: get them off stage in a situation where they have to up B onto stage or to ledge. That's number one thing. If they can air dodge onto stage, jump onto stage, or throw a fair onto stage or anything like that, this edge guard isn't going to work just because they have to be forced to ledge in order for you to get access to any of the options. And then you grab ledge. That's priority number one, grab ledge. Then from there, technically the best thing to do is to buffer both float and tech at the same time. However, I believe that buffering both is pretty difficult, but I will almost always buffer float because at the very worst you can reset quickly from there and then buffer tech right afterwards off the next regrab. Buffering float is good because it can allow you to do a back air, an invincible back air, or just refresh your invincibility so that if they're going to side B or fair, then you are invulnerable during that time, and then you could buffer the tech for the up B afterwards. Then, as soon as that is over, then you react to the sound of the up B, press the tech button. Let me go ahead. If they are in a position where they up B onto ledge, not onto ledge, but onto stage over ledge, then you react to the sound of the up B. If they are in a position to where they would just grab ledge if they up B, you roll. Those are the options that you have to go for. So to re-explain the edgeguard tree again: grab ledge, buffer float, float refresh, buffer tech. If they're going to up B onto stage, react to the up B and tech. If they are not going to land on stage, then you roll onto stage. Now, with this, the option that you do after the tech, I always suggest just doing a double jump fair because it is a very generous window for you to be able to hit, even if they do a super high up B onto the stage or a super low up B onto the stage. You are almost always going to hit the fair, and it'll always send them off into the same direction that you need them to. If you go for a nair or a bear, there's inconsistencies in the direction that it can send if you're not precise with where you're landing them, as well as the heights of the up Bs can vary where you're supposed to be landing, where you're supposed to be starting those nairs and bears. Whereas fairs, you're almost always going to be able to be in a good position, easy position to be able to react in fair. The air dodge onto stage up smash, I think maybe more technical players can do it, but that is definitely not something that I'm going to be able to be capable of anytime soon to hit consistently. Unless I'm like really just better than the person and I want to swag on him, I won't go for it. But that's the edge guard tree. So I'll kind of show this into action a little bit. So this first save state, let me go ahead and double check what it is first. So this is a low up B onto the stage. So this is almost the lowest you can get. It might be slightly above that, but this is almost as low as you can get before they're actionable, where they're the minimum amount of frames where they're actionable. And I'll show that the fair still hits here. So I'll go, grab ledge, float refresh, double jump, hit the fair. So obviously, if you're better at the game, you're going to wave dash back onto the ledge. It's just the better option. However, I'm not confident in my wave dashes back, so I just short hop, and I find it as an easier option. So that's the low option. Now this option, they're fairing the ledge. So we go here. Oop, I missed my tech on that one. Ooh, they're a little bit low. So if they're a little bit low like that, you're supposed to roll afterwards like that. Ooh, better timing. There we go. That's the action you go for. So if I put on my input display, you'll see that I'll actually be going for the tech with my L trigger and then roll with the R trigger. Let me go ahead and switch I'll put a frame advance on and I'll press Z to advance so that you can see at a slow motion what I'm doing here. So I'll turn around. Let me just hold this. Grab. Refresh. I can't time that properly in this state. Let me go ahead and just try to do it fast. It's very hard while I'm holding the C button all at the same time. This is not something I'm practiced at doing. There we go. So now I will buffer. Oh, I think I might be a little bit late for the buffer. Yeah, I'm a little bit late. Gotta do it again. Meow meow. Okay, so now I'm buffering with this, with the right button. So now he's gonna fall down. At this point, he's almost actionable to up B, so I'm going to input my buffer tech. So I'm inputting it. He didn't up B, and so now I'm going to let go of the R button and then press the R button again to execute a roll. Technically, you should be holding onto the L button throughout all of those frames, but I wasn't thinking about that while doing the frame by frame. But that's essentially the breakdown of what you're supposed to be doing. You buffer the tech for it to preemptively to catch out their up B, and then you roll afterwards to make sure that the roll will kill them afterwards. Now, worst case scenario with this, if you do it a little bit early, they're going to end up on stage after you just did a roll. You'll still have them in the corner. You're still in an advantage position. Or they're on ledge after you roll, which then you just go to center stage, pull a turn up, and just reset into neutral a little bit. Isn't guaranteeing the kill, but that means that you just messed up slightly. I want to keep that as like a big point in this. You just messed up slightly in the edge guard, but it's still something that can be practiced and be made better. So it's essentially, I'm saying this is a little bit lower risk, high reward for this entry. Now let's go ahead, turn frame advance off. I believe this one's the side B option. Now this shows the power of the float refresh. Oops. So as you can see there, that float refresh made it so that I was invulnerable during his side B. So that's why it's important to add that port into the tree. And then this last option is just like super basic. Hit the tech early if they're going to up B, if not, go for the roll. Now technically they could have double jumped there. Double jump, that's when you buffer the tech. And then if they double jump, buffer the tech, they don't go for it, and then they slow down. And then if they double jump up B, then you'll hit the tech and they'll land on stage. If they don't and they go downwards for it to try to like delay you, or they go for a side B, then you just roll afterwards, because then they're set into another position where they can only grab ledge. And if they can only grab ledge at that point, then you just roll onto stage. They can't grab ledge because you're rolling, and they're dead. So that is essentially the flowchart for the Pech tech tree. Now, if you do mess up when they're grabbing ledge, you can still nair afterwards like that. The only issue with that one is there's still counterplay options with that. If with those counterplay options, as you can see, I killed him. He went off stage, and I was able to double jump, grab ledge again. So it looked like it was successful there. But there's a couple of issues with it. One, they can tech. If they tech, you're in a little bit of a troubled situation. Technically, after the tech, you can float. You can float nair rather than just nair. That's a little bit more difficult execution-wise, because you have to actually input the float. You can't buffer the float in that scenario. Because when you're teching, the buffered input for float doesn't work the same. You'll actually just buffer a jump tech rather than actually doing a float afterwards. So you'll have to input the float and then nair, and then from that you can actually react to the options that they're going for and make sure that they don't grab the stage. But they can technically fast fall down air to trade stocks. The next option is if they do it actually a little bit high and you go for that immediate nair, it actually sends them the other direction of the stage, so they get sent off of the stage towards center stage, which is problematic. I can actually show you. I believe that's with slot 2. So if I do the float refresh, oh, he might be a little bit high. I might still be able to hit. Let me double check. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to hit it with that one. Maybe slot 3? No, slot 3, they grab ledge. Maybe slot 4? I doubt it was slot 4. Yeah, but I didn't record a slot that to be able to show that off. But essentially, if you hit them from that lower state and they're landing on ledge, it'll send them towards the stage, and you're not going to be in a good position from there, even if you double jump up, be back onto the stage, because now they're going to have center stage, and you're going to be grabbing the ledge, which is problematic. So that's essentially the entire edgeguard tree for you. Float refreshing. Float refresh to make sure that they can't fair you or side B you, and then reacting, or you can even do it slightly preemptively with the techs. Just know that if you do it preemptively and you're practicing it preemptively rather than with the reactions, the issue with that is that you could end up being wrong and you'll get yourself in a tech lockout, and then you're just going to be forced to roll onto stage afterwards. And if you do the tech lockout and you miss the tech, then you're going to be knocked off of the ledge in a worst position against the Marth, because he will be on the stage. You won't be teched, and so you will be in tumble animation after you hit the wall, and you'll be in hit stun. So you will have a harder time to be able to actually react to what the options that the Marth can do afterwards, and he can usually react to you and hit stun and possibly combo you off the FB. Doing it preemptive is an option. It's just a little bit more risky, and it's a little, but it is like an easier option to do. Reacting is a lot more difficult, but it is possible. Earlier up Bs are a little bit more difficult to react to, so you have to do those a little bit more preemptively. However, if you do the preemptive reaction to the earlier up Bs for the the side B, the fair ones, you do the preemptive and then just roll onto the stage. Again, you're not going to be in too bad of a position because you're still going to be cornering the Marth. You just need to make sure that if you do the preemptive option, you have to roll afterwards, because if you don't roll afterwards, then you're going to be stuck in a worse position. But that's essentially the breakdown of the Pech Tech edgeguard tree. The reason I call it the Pech Tech edgeguard tree is because I was inspired by Armada to mess around with some wall tech stuff, and then after posting this information to the Discord, Cop really helped me out to flesh out like all of the different ways that you can really actually utilize this in a practical sense, rather than just going for swag reads and doing wall jump nairs and destroying Mewtwo King on Final Destination in Smash Summit 3. But I think like this edgeguard tree is actually something that's super useful. A couple of small notes: you have to be above 77% for this to work. If you are below 77%, technically between 67 and 77, the strong hits of the uppies will knock you into tumble, and you can tech. But anything earlier than that, you will not be able to tech, because the FB is not strong enough to send you into tumble, and you will be just knocked off of the ledge. So you have to make sure you're above 67% at the very least. 77 is a lot safer though. That's the only real big caveat I have with it. Again, you have to make sure that they're going to go for ledge though. If they are not going for ledge and they can just land on stage, this is a very, very bad option, because now you're grabbing ledge while Marth is on stage. Not a great option. But yeah, that's basically the Pech Tech edgeguard tree. I appreciate you guys watching, and I hope you all enjoyed. And use this. Please use this. I think it's super fucking dope. So if you use this, I will be super grateful to see all of these sick peaches destroy Marth for this edgeguard.